are back with part 2 of the Black Album. Where we left off in part 1, we listened to Don't Tread on Me, and I am just going to get straight back into it. Next track, Through the Never. Minecraft song? Yeah, Through the Never. Yeah, the previous, this song and the song before it, both are, like, much more energetic. The album sort of has been fairly slow up to this point, except for on, like, Holier Than Thou, which had its, like, more energetic moments. These previous two songs are definitely, like, way more energetic, and I'm liking that it's picking up a little bit, because I feel like if it was slower songs the entire way through, it wouldn't work, like, nearly as well. Very interesting lyrical content here. So this song seems to be an expression of existentialism, I guess, at the scope of the universe, and that the Earth and our galaxy as a whole is just sort of drifting through the never, through the infinite nothingness, I guess. Cool. Ooh. Nice. The recording of this, like with the toms and the bass, like all of the low end, it makes it like everything is so rumbly and so much more intense on the low end. It's so cool. Nice. Yeah. I like that the album's like picking up a little bit here. The slower paced songs were like really cool, and it was nice to see Metallica stripping back and doing something like a lot slower. But if it was a full album of it, I feel like it would have gotten boring. So having these quicker moments, having these more intense, fast-paced tracks that again remind me of like Master of Puppets and Ride the Lightning, maybe not as intense and fast-paced as those albums, but definitely a lot closer to them. Having these moments is absolutely necessary to make this album not feel boring and sluggish. So I'm just loving the, I guess, change of pace of this album. And I think that song goes hard as hell. I would give that one a 9.6. Yeah, 9.6. That one's great. One of my favorites so far. Up next, track 8. Another one of the biggest songs from the band, and one of the biggest metal songs ever. Up next, Nothing Else Matters. Ride the Lightning reaction when? If I ever... yeah, exactly, pay me for it. I've already heard the album. I think it's great. I prefer Master of Puppets, but Ride the Lightning's great. But you can pay me to listen to it. £1 a minute, and it's like an hour-long album. So, you can pay me £60 to listen to it. How long is it? Oh, 47 minutes. £47 to get me to listen to that album. You prefer Fade to Black as a sad Metallica song to this one? Which album's Fade to Black on? Is that on... Oh, that one is on Ride the Lightning, yeah. I've not heard this song in forever. I forget the majority of it.
Forever trusting who we are, and nothing else matters. Never care for what they do. Never care for what they know. Never care for what they know.
Yeah, I've obviously heard this song before. Like, this song is absolutely massive. It has over 1 billion streams, which I did not expect from this song, honestly. I didn't think it was this big. Returning to it, honestly, it's still just as great as I remember it being, even though I haven't heard the song in, like, forever. Coming after two much more fast-paced tracks that I guess mark the halfway point of the album, having a return to the much slower... much more emotional, well, not emotional, but much more tension-based side of the album that we saw throughout the first half is really nice, and I like that we're getting more of like the back and forth between the fast-paced and the slow-paced. Yeah, it's definitely the thing that's working best about the album is Metallica's ability to go back and forth between different energies and have it feel tonally consistent. That is this album's strong suit right now.
I never opened myself this way. Life is ours, we live it our way. And nothing else matters.
This is one of the best like choruses on any Metallica song, I'm not gonna lie. The vocal layering is absolutely amazing. I completely forgot about this outro. I completely forgot this was here. This outro is a little long. That is like my only complaint about this track. I feel like this outro could have been shortened a little bit. Like, especially since it just goes into a fade out anyway. It definitely could have been shortened. For the first time on this album, we have a 6.5-minute song that doesn't feel like it overstays its welcome, like, except for the outro being a little too long. I think that that song absolutely warrants its extreme, well, not extreme, but its longer runtime. It feels like that was the exact amount of time necessary to completely flesh the track out and make it feel complete. Whereas on lots of the earlier songs, it feels like they could have been shortened or they could have had sections that could have been trimmed down. No, that one is like actually the perfect length. Legit, my only complaint about that song is that the outro just was a little too long and could have been shortened a little bit. Besides that, that song is like practically perfect. One of the best choruses on any Metallica song. I like that it's going back to the slower, more stripped back sound and it's more like tension based. And like James Hetfield gives one of his like best vocal performances on that track. I am giving that song a 9.7 and I am bumping Enter Sandman's score up to a 10. Genuinely, I have zero complaints about Enter Sandman. I don't know why I gave it a 9.8. Looking back on it, it's a 10. Up next, track 9, we have Of Wolf and Man. There we go. Okay. Sounds like a Megadeth song? I don't know, I've not heard much Megadeth, but I can kind of see it. I should do a video on a Megadeth album. I've actually not heard a Megadeth album. God, that bass tone is absolutely disgusting. It's so good. That was a really cool fill. That's honestly one of my favorite choruses so far. Lars has used the double kick so sparingly on this album. It shocks me whenever it comes in. He has used it maybe 3 times. I'm not complaining. It's just taking me by surprise every time it comes in. That might be the best guitar solo so far. I'm not gonna lie. That went so hard. This feels like one of the ones I'd return to most. I'm not gonna lie. Nice, great outro. Yeah, that song is probably one of the ones I would return to most on this album, honestly. One of the best guitar solos on the album. Actually, probably the best guitar solo on the album so far, in my opinion. That went stupid hard. That was disgusting. The drumming on that track, Lars is actually using his double kick, which he has only used it 2 or 3 times throughout this album, and I don't know why, because there's multiple opportunities where he could have used it. But it's nice to see him actually using it on that track. It adds some extra spice to the percussive elements of that song. It's nice to get. It seems like we're probably going to be like in the back half here, bouncing back and forth. Like every track is going to be alternating between slower and longer slower and longer, slower and faster song. Because I'm looking at the track lengths here. So we got 4:16, 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 3 minutes. So it's probably going to be going back and forth between fast paced and slow paced. Like more on this half than it was on the first half. Yeah, that song was solid as hell. I'd give that one a 9.5. Definitely one of the ones I would return to most on the album. Alright, down to the final three. Track 10, The God That Failed. Amazing bass line to start off.
Pride you took, pride you feel, pride that you feel when you kneel. Not the word, not the love. I see faith in your eyes. Never you hear the discouraging lies.
The sound of this song is just basically reminding me of Sad But True. I don't know, something about like the pacing of this track, the riff, even like the way James Hetfield is like, why can't yeah, the way he's singing. I couldn't think of the word singing there for a sec. The way James Hetfield is singing here, it's just kind of reminded me of Sad But True here.
Find your peace, find your say, find the smooth road on your way. Trust your game. I see faith in your eyes. Never you hear the discouraging lies.
The beginning of this song, I was just sort of like writing it off as it be feeling exactly like Sad But True. But as it's going on, the way it's progressing and like the switch ups that it's going through, this song is honestly kind of going hard right now. The instrumental on this track is one of my favorites of the whole album, particularly in this part where it's just like where it's just the instrumental section. Like this song is growing as it's going along, like a lot.
Pride you took, pride you feel, pride that you feel when you kneel.
Great outro too. That song, when it started off, I wasn't really feeling it. I was like, oh, this just sounds exactly like Sad But True. Oh, this song is like just like boring as hell right now. But as it went along, and as it progressed, and as it went through all of the different phases, and more layers were added onto the instrumental, it picked the hell up. Like that song, by the end of it, like the instrumental probably, like by the end, was one of my absolute favorites on this album. Again, the intro is very difficult to get into, and that's probably the only thing that would make me not return to this song as much. But outside of that, this song is like still amazing. It's difficult to score because, like, again, getting into this track is very difficult. But I still probably would return to this a decent amount. So I think I'll give this one like an 8.8 for now. It has potential to grow, but like just for now, it's just one of my personal least favorites, even though it did like seriously pick up going into the back half. Alright, next track, My Friend of Misery, which is the longest song on the album. It's a Tool song. We're listening to a Tool song right now. Alright. That is such a Tool bass line. Lars Ulrich really likes hitting like the crashes on the upbeats on this album. I've noticed that like I thought that was just on Enter Sandman, but he does it like all throughout this album. He like always hits it on the upbeat for some reason. I don't know why. It sounds cool, but it's very random.
You just stood there screaming, fearing no one was listening to you. These misery, you insist that the weight of the world. What you see
I'm not gonna lie, this one is the toughest to get into so far. The intro is like really cool with that bass line that sounds exactly like it's ripped out of a Tool song. The intro is really great, but as you move further into the track, I feel like this one's just kind of losing me a little bit. It's the first song on this album that's like that. It's I don't know, this one just isn't anywhere near as exciting or engaging as any of the previous tracks, and it just sort of feels like we're rehashing a lot of the stuff we've already done. I don't know, it's not bad. It definitely just feels like I could get this same thing on a different track, just done better. It sounds exactly like a Tool song. I know this came out before, like, Tool were making music. Were they making music in 91? Undertow came out in 1993. But this, you can tell how Justin Chancellor was inspired by, the bass. I forget the bassist's name, I'm really sorry. Because this sounds exactly like a Tool song. Okay, solid outro in this one, though. Loads of really interesting, lots of really interesting stuff going on with the toms all throughout this album. Like, Laz has been using the toms a lot more on this album than he would on, like, Master of Puppets or Ride the Lightning. Yeah, that song was definitely my least favorite so far. It just sort of felt like we were doing the same thing. Like stuff that's already been done before on the album. It's just the least unique and it's the least memorable, I guess. There are individual elements of this song that are great. The bass line sounds fantastic. You can tell how it inspired like Justin Chancellor from Tool, because it does sound exactly like a bass line that would be on a Tool song. I feel like some of the drum parts on this track are really interesting, especially with the toms and the interesting stuff going on there. But outside of that, there wasn't really much that I connected with on this track. It was just okay. It was fine. Just wouldn't return to it because other songs have done what this song does, but just a little bit better. A little bit better. Yeah, the song is 7.3. It's still good. It's still, like, decent. It's just not one I would really return to all that much. I just wasn't crazy on it. Alright, we've made it. The final track. Next track, track 12, The Struggle Within.
Reaching out for something you got to feel, while clutching to what you thought was real. Kicking at a dead horse pleasing you, no way of showing your gratitude. Struggle with it, it's true to fight. Struggle with it, your ruin. Holding out a home it becomes a hell, turning it into your prison cell.
My guitar solo is going wild right now. Whoa. Wow. And that was the Black Album. Firstly, that song went hard. I like that it ended on a more fast-paced track. I feel like it was a nice way of tying the album together, particularly after the much slower song that came before it. I feel like having another slow song to close it off would have just felt a little flat and a little boring of a way to end it off. But yeah, ending it off on a like faster song definitely worked really well. Yeah, that song just went hard. Great guitar solo in that one. The riff, the main riff of that song was one of my favorites on the like entire album. James Hetfield giving one of like the best performance on the album maybe one of the best performances he's ever given on that one. I loved the vocals on that track. It's not like the most. It's not like the biggest statement to end the album off on. It's not like the most profound moment it could have ended off on, but it's still really solid, and I still found myself enjoying that track quite a bit. I think I give that one like a flat 9. Right, real quick before I do my outro, I am going to add up my scores, and then I will tell you what my overall score for this album is. Okay, sounds about right. I am feeling a 9.1 out of 10 on this album. I am so glad I finally checked this thing out. This thing is solid as hell. Yeah, I was very nervous going into it. I was like, oh god, this thing probably isn't going to be anywhere near as good as Master of Puppets or Ride the Lightning was. This is going to be like the beginning of the end for Metallica. It's going to mark the downfall. But honestly, no. I think the switch in styles here, it's not even the most drastic switch in styles, but you can definitely tell that they're experimenting here. I think it works. It genuinely works very well, because I feel like if we just had another insane, energetic thrash album, the sound would have got boring. But here, they're bringing something new to the table. They're bringing something much slower and much more tension-based and more menacing, and I think that is a great, like, switch in tone. I think this sound suits the band really well, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. And it's good that they were like experimenting here, and I think it paid off absolutely. Some pacing issues on this album. It definitely didn't need to be over an hour long. It could have been like maybe 50 minutes. But still, regardless, it's absolutely great. There's tons of like absolutely incredible standout tracks on this album, like Enter Sandman and Sad But True and Nothing Else Matters and stuff like that. So, yeah, I have very few complaints about this album outside of the pacing issues. Yeah, this thing's great. And that was the Black Album. Let me know what you think of this album down below in the comments. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Why? Let me know what albums you want me to listen to in the future, if there's any more metal albums you want me to listen to, or just albums in any genre that you would like to see a reaction to. Check out the other videos on my channel. If you want some metal reactions, we have a video on Fear Inoculum by Tool and Toxicity by System of a Down. Make sure you check those out. Like and sub. Our new goal is 1,000 subs, hopefully by September. Check out the gaming channel if you want. I don't use it much, but it's there. I stream on there sometimes, playing some games. Join the Discord as well. We have a Discord server where you can interact with the community, and you can talk with me on there sometimes. Talk about like movies and music and stuff on there. So definitely make sure you head over there if you are interested. And yeah, I will see you all whenever I next stream or upload. Goodbye.